We are live. This is the market update. Do we have enough to talk about? Let's see. We have the big, beautiful bill. We have the Marines in Los Angeles. We have a serious geopolitical event that only one guy named Nick called that literally came out of nowhere. Actually, it didn't come out of nowhere. It's always been there, but I mean, it went straight to the top of the news flow. Stonks could be in trouble because of this. I think if crypto's down, that's why, right? I mean, obviously, everybody got caught hoo-ha bullish long looking for a breakout, and then, oh my God, this thing hit on the war. We're going to be living with this for 3 days. So I got it in here, but I'm jumping straight in. You had a full moon last night. Full moons don't just come and go. So, there's more light in the sky at night for at least the next 3 days. And then the Orange Man's birthday is over the weekend. So I don't think they do whatever they're doing. I can't believe they're going to do it, but we can't fade Nick at this point. He's still the only guy saying they're going to do it, right? As in go after the Iranians. So we're going to have to live with this in the market for 4 days. And I'm like, ruh-roh, especially with stonks on Friday, right? Because, everyone was like, well, we got to get short. It's a recession. Oh, wait, now AI, we got to get long. Remember all that FOMO? Oh, let's buy a nuclear power plant. Let's pay scientists $100 million a year. And I'm like, oh my God, was that a top in stonks? Like, did they get all emotional and FOMO? Uh-oh. Still think it's a much bigger problem in stonks, but obviously, this is an environment where you can have volatility. Now, that's fantastic because at the end of the day, assuming they don't do it, this sets up for a spectacular reversal. And even if they do it, we do have to pray to the God of our understanding that it's not a world war. And I still think that would represent a massive opportunity. But we have to get real about near-term volatility given the news flow and some of these unbelievable headlines. Did I say unbelievable headlines? Yeah, I definitely did. Okay, we have Ben here from Australia. Welcome. Arundam, Tyler, Miguel, Jav, the original, SGSG, Warmon, Malik, Zepedas, Blown Idea, Jacob, Hal Lopez from Portugal. Gentlemen, good morning. And you're like, what's good about it? Let me see if I can help you out. Okay, so the big, beautiful bill. Gee, do you think they want their sugar? Do they want their $2 trillion a year deficit? You think they're going to change their mind, right? Because of what happened with Elon? Maybe not. So Rand Paul, son of Ron Paul, basically a famous libertarian dude, comes out and said, you know what? I've just been uninvited from the White House picnic. And the left is going. The Democrats, the left is invited, but Rand Paul isn't. Not voting for the big, beautiful bill. Ruh-roh. That's a little scary. That's a little scary. Boy, do they want their sugar. Okay, Los Angeles, second night of curfew. You ready for this? I got a few stories for you. Okay. Whoever's in Los Angeles, they better get off the streets. Okay. This is the United States Marine Corps. Now, a few things. This is in prep for the deployment in Los Angeles. Deploy means put the people there. Okay. So, what do you notice about this picture? We got guys in the front here with shields and helmets. Those are probably military police. The military does have its own police force, right? So the guys in riot gear are probably like called MPs. Now, notice who's in the back. Okay. No shields back here. No shields. Just M4s. Okay. You know, the California National Guard has their rifles on their back and a silly shield that says California National Guard. As in like, oh, don't throw rocks at us. We're from here. That's not how these guys are going to do it. Just saying. Okay. They put these guys on the street and it gets all the way live. Or everybody goes home. They should go home. Some stories about the Marines. Once upon a time in World War II, we went to this island called Iwo Jima. It's an island. We lost 25,000 guys on the beach. Not the island, the beach. And the Marines kept going. I know a guy who was in what's called Marine Recon, who was Marine Special Forces. And he was in a place in Iraq called Fallujah, which was a lot hotter than Los Angeles, let's put it that way. They gave him 12 kids, 18-year-old Marines, and said build, or the term is stand up, a police station. Build a police station in a very short amount of time. And 12 Marines, based on the way they're trained, they got it done. These guys, they're trained to fight. And the fact that they're on the streets is disturbing. It is. It's disturbing because if you attack these guys, like we're really going to find out who's on the streets, right? If you're protesting ICE, yeah, you're not going to go at these guys. We're going to find out who's on the streets in LA. My suggestion is go home. Orange Man says Los Angeles was safe and sound. Well, that picture I just showed you, if that's true, would explain that. Now, you might be shocked or not shocked to know that Mr. McAfee has a new YouTube producer. And he's got a podcast now, and he's got short clips, and he's got a few things to say about what's going on in Los Angeles and a little bit about the big, beautiful bill. Okay? So, just in case you think that what's going on out there is in your interest or that they're going to try to scare you away, don't let them scare you out of crypto. It's called Waltzing with Anarchy. It's a podcast. That's the full episode. Now, you might be like, Bill, why are you showing me this? Because you know what? The market's going down and the token moved up with the market going down. We may actually be getting through with this because if you don't know who John McAfee is, it's okay. Because all this hype stuff he predicted and he's speaking out against it and he's dead and he's back now with AI. So, the Marines are cool, but it's not cool that you got to put them on the streets of LA. It's not. But it's very good for crypto. Now, to the big story. It gets bigger. U.S. on high alert. Potential Israeli strike on Iran. So yesterday afternoon, I'm kind of minding my own business, and I'm like, they're evacuating our embassies in the Middle East, which are basically like intelligence community operations. They're evacuating these places. And I'm like, wait a minute, you only do that right before something starts. I remember when I knew this whole Eastern Europe thing was happening, when we cleared out all our people out of one or two of those countries. I'm like, oh my God, are they actually going to do this? Now, who's they? That's the first thing. Okay, let's talk about who they is. So there's the Iranians. They're not very nice. They got a big army, a big country. They got a lot of missiles. This is not Saddam Hussein. But they got a nuclear program. They got nuclear energy. They could build a bomb if they wanted to, but why would they want to? that's just going to invite an attack. Now, I'm sure they would like to have a bomb because, Israel has it. Israel's had it since the 60s. They won't talk about that, but they have it. Okay. So I don't think anybody in this group is very nice, but the thing you need to understand is Israel is not going to fly across the Middle East and attack this huge, powerful country without our help. It's not happening. So they can say, well, Israel's off unhinged and they're doing it themselves. But I don't think that's entirely accurate. And this whole thing got very real for me when the orange man, is getting asked, right, on the red carpet of some show, hey, what do you think would change things in the Middle East? And he's like, well, we can't allow him to have a nuclear weapon. And I was like, oh my God, that's not lowering the temperature. It's basically saying, we're going to go along with whatever Israel wants. Now, here's the good news. The good news. Okay. First of all, if they were really going to go now, oil would be at 100 because that's how oil acts. I was an intern on a Wall Street bank when Saddam initially went into Kuwait in 1990. Oil doubled instantly. So if this was going to happen now, the oil market would tell you. Second of all, this little comment that he dropped, right? It's classic orange man, right? We negotiate like a madman and then hopefully bring it back to the center. But I'm kind of wondering how you're bringing, the blue and white guys back to the center at this point. Our best hope is that oil hasn't gone to 100. If oil goes to 100, you're going to have a black swan in equities. It's as simple as that. And crypto will undoubtedly get caught in that. But the reason I started with the big, beautiful bill and then to LA and then to this, if this isn't what Satoshi talked about, I don't know what is. The beautiful thing about it is you may get a chunky dip because, they're going to be at this. This is a problem for 4 days. There's no calling this off in the near term. None. Right? This is an issue, right? And it gets worse. So, I don't know. Iran signed an agreement 10 years ago. We won't do this and that. We'll be nice, take the sanctions off, and we won't do nuclear stuff. Okay, well, guess what? The nuclear watchdog just declared that Iran is not in compliance with that treaty, which means two things. One, the sanctions go back on. So now all the Western countries have to put the sanctions back on these people, at which point the Iranians go, okay, well, if you do that, we're going to withdraw from some non-proliferation treaty. And, the bomb that we don't have, that you don't want us to build, yeah, we're going to build it. I'm like, guys, that's going in the wrong direction. That's where I want to go the other way. So whoever this is just inflamed the situation. How nice. Okay, the good news is it's 5:30 in the morning. Okay, this was overnight. The sun's already come up in the Middle East. So for all the engagement farmers on this conflict, you can all stand down. You don't have to worry about it for 3 days because of the moonlight and Orange Man's birthday. Hopefully, they talk some sense into somebody. You see oil, like if oil goes to the premium zone at 80, you got a problem. Oil at 70, okay. Volatility, gold up, okay. You start seeing oil move, then this Nick kid is right. That it's going to happen. Okay, back to tariff. Do you remember when this was the end of the world? Right? It's always darkest before it gets worse. Trump says unilateral tariffs starting in 2 weeks. So they get done with the Chinese, and he's going to whack everyone else who hasn't done a deal yet. Dude, I don't know. It's the guy's got like the drama motor is unbelievable. Like these guys in equities, they were pulling their hair out 2 days ago. They have to be out of their mind. Okay. And of course, tariff receipts. So they made $22 billion in May. Now they only have $2,978 billion to go. They have to get 2 trillion. They're at 22 billion. They should just buy Bitcoin with 22 billion. They really just should. Like, okay, well, what are we going to do with this? All right, well, let's buy $22 billion worth of Bitcoin every month. Now, that would be meaningful. That would be smart. But, you guys remember that I had this exam in business school, this tough professor, 8 hours on a computer in 2000, big clank, 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 clank keyboard. Yeah. If you couldn't answer the question, you could write government is evil and get if you wrote government is evil for every question on an 8-hour test, you got a B for the test and an automatic B for the class. One guy took him up on that. Government is evil. Doesn't matter who's there. It doesn't matter how popular they are. They're evil. Just absolute disaster. Now, to the private sector. A good indicator of economic strength is the number of secondhand shops for luxury goods, such as bags and watches. They're popping up like mushrooms, and they're full of inventory. Isn't that a sign that people who could once afford them are now in need of cash? Gee, were there a few margin calls and stonks on the way down? Look at where this equity market is. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Like down here, I knew it was stupid. It was stupid up here. It's stupid down here. Everybody had a recession, and we have $100 million AI scientists up here. Ruh-roh. Meanwhile, Apple, who has basically screwed up everything on AI, does this study and FUDs the whole space and says we are extremely far away from Skynet, right? Everyone's like, even me, is like, yeah, Terminator's going to knock on your door. And he's like, yeah, well, we're having problems with chess and checkers. Right. And then this guy is fudding OpenAI. OpenAI discuss with Public Investment Fund. And how would you name a company that is in constant needs of raising billions of dollars every couple of months? In other words, these tech companies are FOMOing in to such a degree that I was like, oh my God, is that a tactical top in equities? Is it the top? I mean, we were looking at some guy yesterday who was basically saying rarely, let me see if I can get this. Rarely do you get multiple opportunities to square up your books, right? In other words, a second chance to square up. Everyone who missed and didn't get out the first time can get out. And they're not going to wait for it to go down this time if they have to sell. So if crypto has a problem, it stonks. And who knows? This whole idea of the decoupling where you have a mess in stocks and bonds, crypto, remember how I used to say this? Mess in stocks and bonds. Crypto goes down. Stocks go down. Stocks don't come back, but crypto explodes. I mean, this could be it. Like over the next, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. This Iranian thing's not going to be over tomorrow. But, if they smack crypto, it's literally, it's Christmas. Remember, it's like find an old coin and get involved. Dude, we'll go through the charts. We'll find a dip. They're going to give you a dip. Canada's recession has already begun. They have West Virginia wages. So that's rural, blue collar, hard hat, coal miners. San Francisco home prices. And now a government bent on throwing away a quarter of the economy. Don't you love how sovereigns worldwide, I used to be able to sit here and make fun of the Canadians. Oh, we can't do that anymore. We have our clown show over here. They're making fun of us. Financial advisors remain hesitant towards Bitcoin, but won't be for long. They didn't want it at 77, but at 110, it's much more attractive. And of course, if it goes down off any type of conflict, I mean, the whole world was panicking at 100. I mean, a 97 print would probably create hysterics. I mean, that would just be, I don't know. That's, in a way, that would almost be too good to be true. Too good to be true. But, we definitely have 3 or 4 days of worrying about this. Okay. The orange band seemed extremely clear. Hopefully it's brinksmanship. What this guy Nick is saying, because, if the orange man goes to war, right? And I'm serious about this because this is what this kid Nick is saying. That, this guy was looking at a $400 million judgment in New York that he couldn't pay. I think the interest on the appeal was, he had $100,000 a day on that judgment. They fined him $500 million for an accounting problem, just so you remember. Then he takes a whole bunch of campaign money for people who probably want this conflict. And you might ask yourself, why is he doing it? Well, because when he gets out, they're going to come after him again. And not just going to come after him, they're going to come after Melania and his kids. Right? So here he is, he's in this weird space. Yeah, he's got this huge ego, but, these guys that wrote these checks, they know what they're doing. They have leverage over him because he's trying to protect Melania and his kids. Plus, I don't think he wants to go to jail when he gets out from the presidency. He's only got 4 years, right? So, he might do this. And if that's the sovereign, if that's the lead sovereign in the world, the bond of that country is the risk-free rate. It's not risk-free anymore. BlackRock aims to become the world's largest crypto holder. Yeah, because they know exactly what's going on. James Wynn, which I'm convinced is a BlackRock psyop, is now telling people it's going lower. So first it was, let's lose $100 million so BlackRock could buy everything at the lows. And now, we have TA every day. I don't know. They're going to take out the leverage longs. Now I don't know what he's doing. Leading everyone down the road of ruin. Okay, so we have all kinds of Bitcoin graphs in the Bitcoin community. They have 200 dialed in. GameStop announcement at a tactical top. Like the Japanese companies are the innovators. Maybe GameStop is the idiot. I don't know, but they did sell stock though. If they're selling stock to buy Bitcoin, it makes sense. It makes sense. But, when everybody is comfortable buying, sometimes that can be a tactical top. Now, this is unbelievable. You want to see something good? Let me give you something good. Listen to this. The commissioner of the SEC firmly underscored the constitutional protections for those who write and publish code, saying the SEC must not infringe on the First Amendment rights by regulating someone who merely publishes code on the basis that others use that code to carry out activity that the SEC has traditionally regulated. This is not John McAfee's SEC, or so they say, right? That is so bullish for DeFi. You know what this is? And people don't get this yet. They will. The banks are going into DeFi. That's it. I can't go in DeFi. You can't. People just can't figure out DeFi. This is the all clear for the banks. This is why Aave was up only. That's why if they smack this market, you're coming in, Ethereum, DeFi, Solana. I'm serious. You know what I'm saying? It's like the quiet part is being said out loud. And it was that way with the Circle IPO. And now this. Again, it's all being drowned out by all that stuff that I just covered. And here we go. The Japanese are into it. And I think this makes sense. Like, wow, we got a currency problem. We got a population problem. We got a wealth effect problem. Did we talk about this yesterday? There's 9 million homes in Japan that are empty because of the population problem. Korea's done in 3 generations. So try to remember, like, there's my mom, me, and then my kid. That's 3 generations. In 3 generations, Korea will be gone. They better start buying Bitcoin right now. And they're going to FOMO in. Like, you give the Japanese a dip, they're going to buy the dip. XRP Grayscale Fund to launch before Solana, according to this person. Like, the desperation on the internet to create XRP content is unbelievable. It's like we're doing like XRP minutia. Like, in my opinion, XRP probably will be in Grayscale before a Solana ETF. I don't think they want to do the Solana ETF yet. But when they do it, and they will do it, right, it's going to be gangbusters, right? The Orange Man's hedge fund isn't long enough yet for them to do it. MicroStrategy's fancy stocks are out, and Michael Saylor bought them. 200K is penciled in. Like 200K is now guaranteed. Ouch. Shut up. 200K guaranteed. Boom. Classic, unfortunately. I hate that. I hate that. Right? 3K ETH guaranteed. Well, sorry, not today. Paul Tudor Jones buys Bitcoin. We talked about this yesterday, and then I looked at all this geopolitical stuff, and I'm like, oh my God. You know what? You know how I always make fun of Ray Dalio, that these Armageddon hedge fund guys are doing the wrong trade? And I was like, oh my God. Paul Tudor Jones thinks that this could be the end of days, and he's doing it by being long Bitcoin. And he just announced it without going into the Ray Dalio end of days thing. He's like, yeah, Bitcoin, hedge against inflation. Except he's not that kind of guy, right? He never met an apocalypse he didn't like. So I love that the smart guys in legacy are doing Bitcoin. That means if the market lurches down with the smart money wanting to do this trade, when Bitcoin comes back, or when it all comes back, it's going to come back gangbusters. You know, we're just going to have to, whatever tactical pain there is, we're just going to have to deal with it. Draw a chart, find a support point, and go. The case for investing in digital assets. Wow, look at that. Never see these things at 77K. I'm sure it's a good report. You just don't see it at the lows. Okay. ETH, Bitcoin, ready to go up. Maybe not. Not today. Okay. Again, you have a lot of FOMO. Now, I do like this, though. Why you are thinking about Ethereum all wrong. Everybody thinks the whole network is in distress. That's not true. The network is just not being used. The distress was the public relations image of the network, because everyone was like, we hate you. You're stupid. You know, Solana's eating your lunch. I mean, the bearishness in ETH at 1,400 was just incredible. I mean, it was literally the mirror opposite. I mean, the bullishness at 1,400 was so unbelievable. I mean, it was like $32, right? It went to 1,400. The ICO boom was freaking spectacular. Spectacular at 1,400. Now you flip it around. I don't know, 7 years later on a classic 7-year Gann cycle, you had total despair. You had 1396. There's nothing wrong with ETH. And you know what? In ETH, you're going to find out. You're going to find out why it went up 80% off the low. Because the banks are coming. They're coming with stable coins. Gemini, IPO. You know, it's too bad they couldn't get it off when the equity market was at its high. Right? They're a little late, but I'm convinced that if the stock market doesn't fall apart, oh my God, these crypto IPOs are going to absolutely explode. Saylor on Peterson. Peterson was like, yeah, you know, the way you talk about Bitcoin, you act like Bitcoin's going to take over the whole world. And he's like, yeah, it is. Now, on one hand, you have to be careful of that kind of talk. On the other hand, the governments of the world are proving them right. They're proving them right. They're absolutely proving them right. Okay. So Bitcoin on a tactical chart, this is 89 minute. So we're, you know, when the Marines are on the streets in America, and then the Marines may have to go somewhere else. So you do have a nice moving average support here in Bitcoin, and you've got some tactical bottom signals, although it's pretty obvious that this trade's crappy. Right now, the good news is oil didn't explode. I mean, it rallied, but it wasn't like insane. There are sellers at the 200-day moving average. Now, but oil is at equilibrium, so in no way, shape, or form is oil overbought. You know, basically, this all hinges on oil. You know, gold may get deep into the premium zone at 3,500. Again, it's another thing to watch. And what's really amazing about this is that the dollar is falling apart. Normally, if you have war, people buy the dollar. Now, again, market's hip to this. If our enemies push us into like radical defense spending, because this is not like, it's not like the guys in Yemen. Like, we shoot at you, we shoot 100 missiles at you, and then, you send a drone submarine and hurt one of our ships. And then we send another 100 missiles at you. And no, that's not how this works. If they actually do this, if the Orange Man, for whatever reason, actually goes through with this, dollar's going lower because they're going to have to print money, because Jamie Dimon was like, yeah, you guys should be buying bullets, not Bitcoin. You gotta give the man props for saying something like that. He was ahead of the curve, because this, I mean, I've never seen anything go through the premium or the discount zone. So we'll see, right? Dollar lower and everything is still down. Like, this could be a financial crisis, because again, you have all this Ray Dalio social disorder. I'm like, wow, this is happening. It's happening. It's happening. Right. So, I mean, hopefully they don't do this and create this scenario where it's basically a black swan. If you want to know what a black swan is, and then we'll go to crypto. If you want to know what a black swan is, a black swan is when something happens that no one thinks is going to happen. And even when it presents itself, no one thinks it's going to happen. 2008 was just like that. No one thought it was going to happen. And it did. And it was way bigger than what most people thought. Nick F is the new Michael Burry. As distasteful as some of the things he says is, the guy's been right. He's going to have 1 million followers by the time this is over. He's the only guy who's been talking about this, literally. Okay, Bitcoin on a 4-hour chart, approaching a 9 bottom. That would be nice. It would be a very clean retest of this prior, that's very clean, right? You just erase the FOMO. Okay, 4-hour Solana chart, not pretty. You probably got another day at least. Supports at 150. So you got 13 top on the 4-hour chart. Now, this doesn't look terrible. This looks okay. This looks like if you actually get the dip, that you might want to take the dip and bet it doesn't happen. Right? The risk is either 150 or 130. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully. Okay, ETH. This I'm dying to get my hands on. Okay, this is not a 13 top, but I don't like it. It's ugly. It looked like the trend was going to restart and it failed. Okay, the good news is, I don't know, one day until a 9 bottom. And I hate this 13 top on the daily chart. I was kind of hoping for sideways. I'm still getting sideways, but I don't like what I would call intermediate. In crypto, they use local or intermediate technical top signals when a black swan appears overnight. It's not my idea of fun. However, what I'm doing in this is I'm going to these 89-minute charts. If you want to know what to look at, that's what I'm looking at. So, okay, so here's the emotional top, right? This is where it should have ended. This was emotional. Now, I don't know. They're either going to reverse it today, or, you're going to have 2 or 3 days where this goes from 4 down to 13. I mean, all I know is I can't even believe they would do it. But if they did it, it would be Christmas. It literally, I mean, the worse it looks, the scarier it looks. You just stand down there. Because again, the corruption, the ineptitude, and also, like, to be fair, the motivations, right? If you were going to jail for the rest of your life and your kids and your wife, and somebody says, hey, we'll give you a whole bunch of money, you would probably take the money to save your family, right? Now, the problem is he puts the whole rest of the world at risk, which is the game he's playing. And none of this is bullish. Like, people have finally looked at this. And of course, it's a little late. People have finally looked at this and go, oh, yeah, this dollar, I'm done. I'm done. Now, again, it'll be on the tape tomorrow. Like, I'm the Nick F of finance. I'm like, it's a dollar devaluation. It's not a short dollar trade. It's a dollar devaluation. Okay. And of course, even though they got negative rates, they can't get enough of that Swiss franc, and they got room to move into the discount zone, which for crypto, like I was saying, that's constructive, right? It'll keep Bitcoin from falling completely out of bed. The other piece of good news, frankly, this looks algo signal. Wah. You normally get dips after that. The good news is Bitcoin will back off from its premium zone so that when this ends, Bitcoin will have more room to push higher, right? But I mean, these charts were beautiful. I mean, like I was like, oh my God, Solana's going through the 200-day moving average. Not. Let's see. Okay. Who knows? Again, this buy signal in XRP was incredibly strong. So if it can survive, and again, I'll end it with this. I think if stonks are okay, we're okay. Right? Right now, they're selling the currency, which is great for crypto. It's great. Never seen anything go through the discount zone. Dollar index goes through the discount zone. We're in business. The only issue is, what kind of volatility do we have in stocks and oil? That's it. I'm hoping this is your grand decoupling. And for the sake of anybody who has people in the armed forces, or for the sake of anybody who's in the Middle East, God, the heck with that. To anybody who lives in San Francisco, New York, or Los Angeles, on top of that. Okay. So we have quite the cocktail. Stay cool. Find a trader, find a support point, find a dip. Assuming it's not the end of the world, we'll know in 4 days. We'll see you tomorrow.